and the red light is on, which means we are recording. So we'll start. And hello, everybody. Once again, we are back. It is the Vinyl Vandals. It's becoming a bit of a habit, this, isn't it, Riddler?
It is.
It started off as a bit of a, who's your top 10? Oh, I couldn't do that. We'll make a top 5. And now it's become a bit of a conversation, isn't it? Everybody trying to whittle it down to top 5. It's not easy to get your top 5. I know it's not. And what we're doing is what we are calling our favorite 5. It's either favorite 5 USA albums, hip hop, of course, or favorite 5 UK albums. And my name is King Fred. Some of you know, some of you don't know us. I'm a youth worker during the day, and I'm also by night. I go by the name of King Fred, who's part of the Vinyl Vandals. And the Vinyl Vandals have a radio show, which I'm sure my colleague in a minute will tell you about. We also have something called the Trainer Detective, which is me and my son, Fat Haidasha, who go around and video people's trainer collections. And we do lots of other things, like put shows on or go and do shows, and just generally love hip hop. So that's me. I'm now going to pass it down to my colleague below me, who is
Riddler. Hello. Vinyl Vandals resident DJ. We've got the hip hop show on Try Radio on Monday nights, 8 p.m. on for an hour. Really good show, if I say so myself. Record collector. That's just a little few. And live DJ. Love DJing out live.
Thanks, Riddler. And we are over the moon to have a special guest today. We have none other than, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Smoove. I'm a DJ, producer, record collector, as you see. I also play percussion in a band called Smoove and Turrell, who I produce as well. I've been around forever. I'm an old schooler, so probably that's why I'm on here. I'm 50 in this November. So yeah, I've been around the block a few times.
Nice one. Yes, we can see you are definitely a vinyl vandal with all that vinyl behind you. That's some impressive collection, that, mind. Woo! Where is that? Well, if you want to say this in case people want to go and rob some of your records, but where do you keep all of that? Is that your whole collection, or you got somewhere else as well?
This is in my studio. It's all here. It goes all the way around there as well. So
wow.
You can't see all of it. I started collecting when I was 12, and I'm based in Gateshead now. So it also makes really good soundproofing when you're playing the drums and recording vocals and things like that. The sound is dead. It's great.
Nice one. Okay, so I, for one, know who Smoove and Turrell are. So yes, you're Smoove, but there is somebody called Turrell. I know there's a band that goes with that. But for people that don't know who you are, can you give us a little bit of a sort of like a mini biog of who you are and what you do? You don't mind?
Yeah, I kind of I started before Smoove and Turrell. I was signed to a few different labels like East West, Big Life, and then moved forward and started. I got signed to Acid Jazz after that, and then I ended up doing a solo project called Smoove, which I did my first debut album with myself. Anyway, that's obviously I've just cut out loads of years to keep the story down, and I started primarily working with samples. So the first album was like cut and paste, but I liked working with musicians, so sort of to get that organic sound over the samples. Yeah. So I found that really interesting. Worked with loads of different singers on that album. The first album was called Dead Men's Shirts. Released a few with Acid Jazz, Eddie Pillar. And then got a new record deal when I met John Turrell. We had a new album called Antique Soul. That was the first album we had, and this was in 2009. So we released that on Jalapeno Records. Yeah. And we've been with Jalapeno Records ever since. So we've made 6 albums now. Wow. Which is, quite a lot of work.
Okay. A lot of work. So you've said you're a producer and you've said you play percussion. So those albums, that's what you do on there. You produce them and you play percussion. Is there anything else that you do?
Yeah, I mean, I'm obsessed with programming drums. So like my digging comes into that. So I love finding drum breaks and chopping them up and so the background, that's kind of what gives Smoove and Turrell its edge, because a lot of traditional funk and soul bands do it all live. And some get that really good rustic sound, but I like to sort of fuse that, that hip hop ethic, as well as you introducing soul and electronica. So it's a real mishmash of that. And it gave us like a different edge, having John's voice over this sort of sampled organic live sound as well. So but we didn't intentionally sit down and go, let's sound like this. It just, it's a natural progression.
Nice one. So just so I've got this in my head, John sings and you do the music, yeah?
Yeah, well, basically, it's got to the point now where we're working with 5 musicians in the band, keyboard, guitar, etc., etc. So they all write with us now. So like, the first album was primarily written with a guy called Mike Porter, who's notorious because of his hair. He's a keyboard player and a bit of a joker. So he was writing with us with the samples initially, and then we got more people involved. So that's and again, another thing that's been quite integral to the writing process is we've gone away from samples. Even though sometimes we start the songs with samples, we actually get rid of them. We flush them because of lawsuits. Basically, you get sued.
Yeah.
So,
all right, nice one. So there's something else you haven't said that I learned. You had a rap career.
Yeah, very briefly.
Yeah, I was watching the video last night.
Oh God! Well, this is where I've got to go back to the bit I tried to skip. Yeah. That's when I got signed to. First of all, we got signed to Big Life Records, which was a big deal back then. This is in 1990, right? Yeah. So, bearing in mind I was like 19 years old then. And the guys in the band I was with then, they were like 10 years older than me. That's the Ashbrook All Stars. That was the same time, but that was another label. That was East West Records.
Right.
Well done, really. So yeah.
That's a tune, by the way.
We got signed and we sampled Boss Skaggs. And basically the guy pressed all the records up and never got the sample clearance. So Boss Skaggs said no. And then that was it. Our career was basically flushed down the pan. The one good thing that did come out of that was we ended up sampling, because they were label mates while they were licensed. At the same time, you got to imagine De La Soul was on the label. The Orb was on the Orb was on the label. Lisa Stansfield, they were the 3 big stars. And then they licensed stuff from Tommy Boy, right? So in the UK, they had like Naughty by Nature, Digital Underground, and people like that. And obviously De La Soul. So it was like, wow. So we got a chance to actually remix Digital Underground, who were our heroes at the time. So that was like, and that actually got released and synced to MTV, which on the European MTV. So Your Raps had our version over the top. I used to sit in the pub on a Saturday, like going, oh my God, it's on. Nobody could watch Your Raps back then. You never had them in your house. It was very rare that someone had that, So yeah, that was it. And then my career with Big Life was over as quick as it was signed, really. But I mean, I will talk about that a little bit more later, because one of the albums is from that period that I've picked, actually.
Good stuff. Just on UMTV Raps, I'm lucky enough to have about 10 DVDs of UMTV Raps, old stuff. So at some point in the future, what we want to do is have a sort of a day or a night where we'll play UMTV Raps videos and have people up like rapping, DJing and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
There's loads of great bits I remember. Obviously, Dr. Dre, I remember him. But I also remember like the freestyle bits when you had like the Pete Rock and CL Smooth one. That was unbelievable. Do you know what I mean? It just went on and on. Like, and watching
I saw that one just a couple of weeks ago, actually.
Yeah, well, watching that on a Saturday afternoon in St. Arthur's in Sunderland was just like, oh, wow! Because let's put it this way, everyone in the UK was completely starved of hip hop back then. It was so hard to find. It was all imports. It was so expensive. There was only a handful of record shops that did it. Hitsville, obviously, in Newcastle. Bill had a good
Volume,
Volume.
Yeah, and Volume. That was basically it. There was like
there's a couple others. I mean, well, what do you call it? You had what's the shop called? Windows. They had a little sneaky little section.
I did get some
tiny section.
I did get some imports from there. Yeah.
It was one of those ones that people didn't really know about. If you sneaked in there, you got a few little odds and sods. But I was lucky enough to have. I'm 54, so I was lucky enough to be able to. I've got family down London, so I used to go to London a lot.
Yeah.
You know, when my mum and dad split up, my mum went to live down London, so I used to be down London a lot. Aunties, uncles, and cousins, and I used to go to places like Red Records in Brixton and places like that. You know, because all my family lived in South London. So I was looking. I've got some family in America as well, and one of my cousins brought some tapes back. So I got it then. But like you say, there was no internet, was there? You know what I mean?
Well, the other thing is we didn't have much money, so like if you had £20, that would get you one record, you know, because the imports were like super expensive. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I remembered going to Hitsville, and the woman used to look at us anyway. She used to like, think, what do you know about music? She always did that to everyone, you know, because she was into high energy and like, you know,
right.
she was like higher than everyone else. So once she got to know you, she was all right. You know what I mean? But you were like made to feel alien, like you are in most record shops, to be honest. Customer awkwardness. But I remember going into Hitsville and finding Tough Crew and just thinking, what is this? It looks cool. And you couldn't listen to records back then. There was no listening booths and if you went, can I have a listen? They'd just look at you and go, get out. You know? that was it. It was harsh, you know?
Yeah.
But in fact, Bill, I think, was the first person who got a listening booth when he built the shop. It was a tiny shop. Anyway, and I bought the Tough Crew album, and that totally blew my mind. That isn't one of my picks today, because there's much better records. But that was the one, and I remembered like reading it and looking at the photograph. You know, that iconic photograph where they're all in Philadelphia and they're all stood around a statue.
Yes, yeah.
He's
gone digging.
He's gone to get it. I remember just being amazed because on the back of the slip it had like shadows and numbers, and then all the names under the numbers.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And just thinking, who is this crew? And obviously, now Facebook, you can speak to people like what was the DJ called again?
Too Tough.
Yes, thank you. Too Tough. You know, and you know his scratching was just like, wow.
Yeah.
You know, like at the time it was just incredible, you know. I mean, there was people like that in the UK who were doing the same thing, you know, like Hijack and all that.
That's the one.
I also got the second album as well.
Yeah.
Which was equally as good, but not as good as that.
I think that's the photo you're on about.
That is it. Amazing. Yeah. Like, and I used to just think, oh, that looks so cool.
Yeah. Definitely.
You're right.
All right then. That's a good introduction. You've educated me. I hope everybody at home's educated now as well, because I didn't know like a lot of that. My questions before we go into your first choice is, can you still get some of that stuff? Like, so that one that Riddler's got, I bet if that's hot property, I'll take it then. If it wasn't
Ashbrook All Stars.
Yeah.
Oh, that one. I think there's some on Discog, but that's a white label, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it originally came out as a club white label. That's what it used to do back then.
Yeah.
And then we got the record deal once we had the white label, because it got spun on the radio, and then it got signed to East West. So then it officially came out. But even then, there was obviously back then they used to make test pressing as well. So there's the white label version, then the test pressing, and then there's the. They even made 7-inch and cassette. You know, single.
Single.
and there's a video.
The video never got released. It was made by the guy who filmed Right Said Fred's video. James, he was called. I remember he came up from London and he shot the video. And it was awkward because we were signed to 2 record labels at the time, so you couldn't show your face. That's why we got all of our mates in the video and just danced around like idiots. So the video used to get shown in our local pub where we all used to meet up all the time. And it was Liberties in Sunderland, and all the Chester Street crew used to come through as well, because the dancers in the video were from Chester Street. So they used to show the video constantly in that pub. And that was it. You know, that was our fame. It was like 5 minutes of fame in Sunderland.
Wow, that's excellent.
But it went at number 17 in the dance chart, that one, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah.
See, I saw the video for the first time last night. I think it was John Riddler who shared it with us. And I was like, whoa, I didn't even know this existed. I didn't know anything about it. It's just like, I thought I knew a lot of stuff about Northeast hip hop and stuff, but I didn't know about that. You know what I mean? So it blew my mind. It's like, wow, I didn't know about a history like that. So that's excellent.
A little fact about the video: my tracksuit top is in the video, but I'm not in the video.
Yeah. Jace is wearing your top, isn't he?
Somebody loaned me top. I couldn't go because I was at work when they were filming the video. But there's loads of kids from Newcastle in it as well. It's like a collaboration of Newcastle, Sunderland, Middlesbrough, the whole scene coming together.
Yeah.
just having fun, basically dancing.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Well, I
That's what
didn't
they
get an
used to do
invite.
anyway.
I never got an invite.
It's because you can't dance.
Neither got anyone else in the video.
Nice one. All right then. So before we start, have you got it? You haven't got them in any particular order, so there's no number one, is there?
There probably is.
Right.
Yeah, I'll give you
Okay.
number one. Right.
Okay. So we'll start with your first one that you want to go for anyway. Your first one out the block.
It's got to be this. Everyone who knows me knows that this is probably going to be my number one.
Oh yes, the Far
It's the
Side.
Far Side.
Side.
All right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, this came out. I think it was '94.
Mm-hmm.
Was it? I'm sure it was. And it literally is like production wise and rapping, the comedy aspect, the fact that there's 4 MCs bouncing off each other. The lyrics are so funny. The samples are amazing. The drums are so fat. And it just, the whole thing, you could play the entire album all the way through. In fact, I recorded this. I put it in my Walkman, my Sony Walkman at the time. And it was in my Walkman for over a year. I just walked around like the whole year listening to this over and over again. And when the second album came out, Lab Cabin California, like it wasn't as good, but it was a different thing completely. But I was like, oh, I'm not sure about this. And again, I made myself like that album. But actually, as it turns out, the second album is equally as good. But this just changed my life. Really did.
Was that on a musical level, or was that on a rap level, or both?
Everything. Like, I mean, to be honest, if I'm being honest, I got into rap because I loved the music. I wasn't really at first into the rap. It wasn't until I heard Sweet Tea rapping that I really liked. I started to like rap.
Sweet Tea, of all people. Okay.
It was the samples that I really liked, and it was the funk and soul that I was into before I got into hip hop. And obviously, I got into electro and breakdancing like we all did. And but yeah. So when this came around, this was a lot later, but. Yeah, it was just like, wow. I mean, as I said, this is '94. There's lots of great albums that came before this, you know, from the golden era, as they say. Let's just double check. It is '94. I'm sure it is. Anyway, but like singles.
92.
Oh, 92. I stand corrected. That's good. That's good. Because basically, the golden era lasted like that long. It was so short. It was only till about 96 and it was gone. That's what they say anyway. And I think everything I've picked is from that, is from the golden era. But like even the skits are brilliant, you know, like all of the singles like Soulflower first came out on the brand new Heavies album, the Heavy Ram Experience. That's when I first heard the Far Side. And I was like, wow. And then this version's like a fatter version, you know, because obviously that's a live version.
Yeah.
But I was just blown away by the fact that the guy could sing like really well, with so much soul. Obviously, massive singles, Passing Me By, Your Mama. Yeah. Your Mama's a classic. Like, you know, you still play it now and it blows up. Return of the B-Boy, you know, like even the skits, like you say, like Quentin's on his way. Officer, like, you know, oh shit, that was like a proper like. When I heard oh shit, I was like, oh my god, this is so good.
Yeah.
And the lyrics in For Better or For Worse, you know, I've even watched interviews. I actually did some illustrations for these as well. Not that went on their artwork, but for an interview that we did in the Northeast magazine. But I was totally obsessed with them. A similar sort of group that no one really got into, or they never got as big as they should have, was Freestyle Fellowship. But that was another album that I was toying with putting in, but it didn't have enough in to warrant the whole thing. But I love the Freestyle Fellowship album, the Inner City Griots, I think it's called, isn't it?
Something Griots are great, And
I interviewed them as well. I actually saw them live and interviewed them because I used to do a radio show called Weir FM in Sunderland.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so that was really cool.
Nice.
But yeah, that album changed my life, literally.
Okay, a couple of questions from that. Just obviously, I wrote a couple of things down there. One of the things for me was, at the time when they came out, I loved the video. You know, like the drop video. Obviously, I think a lot of people did. It was just, you know,
iconic.
Like sort of like going backwards and all of that, and just the way they were sort of walking, it was just like, whoa, how they done that. It was just great. but it didn't really grab me. And I think it's when I've got older that I've started getting into them more. So same with Freestyle Fellowship. You know, I bought them, but I didn't really listen to that much. But I think I've always been into sport. You know, I do a lot of martial arts and stuff, and I was always into more up-tempo stuff. So I sort of listen to more like the gangstery type of hip-hop, you know, like the more harder beats, I suppose, is one a better way of saying it, as opposed to the blunt out stuff. And it's only as I've got older that I've sort of getting more into that type of stuff more and playing that more. I feel as though I have done anyway, you know. So that's the first thing for me. And I think the other thing as well is that what also blew my mind was when I heard they were from like South Central Los Angeles.
Yeah.
The press told me that everything from South Central Los Angeles was hard to the core. And when I heard there was like actually sort of like artists there that were totally on the other side of that. Because when I first heard them, I just assumed there would be like East Coast, De La Soul, Tribe, you know, on that kind of a vibe, you know. And I was totally shocked when I heard there was a whole scene across there doing their thing as well, which blew me away.
Yeah. I think it's just, I mean, for me, I was never really bothered about where anyone was from at the time. I just got the albums and went, they're American. That's amazing.
Yeah.
You have this illusion that in America, like rap was enormous, but actually, I'm starting to find out now it wasn't as big as what they made out. Sure enough, they were selling records and that, but the artists weren't really making much money. You know, like the beyond the sleeves with the gold and the cars and all that, and it wasn't really what it was like. Look at like the Cold Chillin' site on Facebook. It's kind of brought all the artists right down, you know, like sort of in your eyes as a kid, they were way up there. Yeah. And now you just realize they were just normal people, completely normal. They weren't stars at all. Do you know what I mean? And, you know, even the Roxanne Shante movie, which is bad. I think it's Roxanne Shante.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
It's a bad movie. It's a really bad movie. It could have been done better. But it just made me realize watching that, like how bland it all, like the reality of it is, you know.
I think that's probably the same about a lot of things. I think if one thing's showing us at the moment is we've got to be careful when you put people up as heroes, because a lot of those so-called heroes are now sex offenders. when you run through hip hop at the moment, sex offenders, you know, either against children or against women, there's quite a few.
Yeah.
But that's life, I think, is the thing I'm trying to get at. So hip hop's no different. We put them up on pedestals as heroes, but they're no different than anybody else. Alcoholics, drug addicts, domestic violence, sexual predators against women and children. Do you know what I mean? They're all there.
They do always say never meet your hero, though, don't they?
Yeah. Facts. Yeah. Is there anything you want to say, Riddler?
True statement that there, like. Yes. Now then, we'll always ask everybody, and you can only choose one. What's your favourite track?
Yes.
Well, I knew you were going to ask me that, and it is really difficult, but I guess it usually comes down to singles because, and there was a few good singles off this. Obviously, Your Mama was a great single. It's probably the most like biggest single on this album, and it's the most iconic, and it still lives. But for me, it was the way that he was singing in this song, which is Passing Me By, like and the fact it was so slow and so romantic. You know, the lyrics like "She's the apple of my eye" and all that. It was just like, and he's singing about his teacher that he fancied. You know what I mean? I just love it. It's amazing, and even all the remixes with "Fly As a Pie" mix with the Roy Ayers loop underneath. It's just out of this world. It really is. I want that played probably at my funeral. Yeah, so Passing Me By. That's the one.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. It still gets a lot of airplay now as well. It's six music plays it all the time. It's
the way the samples. I mean, I've got every single sample off this album, obviously, but it's like Jimi Hendrix. You know, the bit that goes backwards. There's a Quincy Jones loop in there, Somewhere in the City, with all the static in. It's just, you know, it's perfect. You know, it really is.
Nice one. Okay, so that's your first one.
Nice choice.
Yeah.
The second one, which is also my favourite album of all time, it's always in my top 10. Now, this is going to make a lot of sense because I've recreated this, and it's that.
Okay.
Main Source.
Breaking Atoms, Main Source.
Breaking Atoms, okay.
Iconic sleeve as well, like fantastic sleeve, you know. And these guys dressed very differently from everybody else. The Jungle Brothers used to wear some of this stuff, the Champion stuff,
Mhm.
and Pete Rock as well, and CL Smooth. They wore these, I'm sure.
Very
But
preppy, isn't it?
yeah, very simple compared to the other rap scene. Like, I only go on about like that because I wasn't obsessed with how I look, but it definitely had a massive effect on me. I wanted to wear and
Yeah.
stand out different to everyone else.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like I wanted to look odd. I just wanted my own identity.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So when
Yeah.
hip hop came around and I was living in Sunderland, I was, as I said, there was hardly anyone I knew who was into graffiti and rap, you know. And
Yeah.
so I remember getting the first pair of Troops, and I remember everyone looking at me like, "Wow, where'd you get them?" Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
Because I got them in Canada, um, and but it was just amazing, an amazing time. Again, I think this was 1990, or maybe it's 90. No, it was 1991. Wild Pitch Records that never really survived. I think they ripped off a lot of their artists. This copy's battered to bits. You know, it's absolutely knackered. But I've got the repress. There's like I've got all these that I've picked because they repressed a lot of these records on double vinyl, so they're nice and loud and you know. But yeah, that's the original one. When this came out, I was on Weir FM and I heard my friend had taped it off Pete Tong's show, Radio 1. He used to play a little bit of rap
You
and he
did.
played Front Door. And I was just like, what is this? The beat is so sick. It's the Detroit Emeralds sliced up. And then the Fender Rhodes is, what's he's called? It'll come back to me. But yeah, the samples, it's just perfect. Like every single track on this album is just to die for.
Yeah.
You know,
Interesting.
a friendly game of baseball. Nas
Yeah.
that was his first ever appearance ever. Peace is not the word to play. Like, I mean, the energy in that song and the scratching and the break in
Yeah.
the middle where it flies off into another section. It's just like that influenced me in everything I do. You know what I mean? It was just, and like I say, I recreated this in a 45 I did, which took me about 3 months to make. I took all the original samples that
Yeah.
they'd used on this album and put it into a kind of cut and paste mix on a 7-inch that I made. I
Yeah.
had to split it across 2 sides and I released it on Whack Records. Just
All
as
right.
a tribute, really, you know.
You know, make me think there, like when you how that's the right question to both of you is actually how come they weren't as big as what they should have been? To me, they should have been bigger. Main source.
I think they split up like most great rap groups. The first album hit the problems and they split up and
Yeah.
it just never worked. Like Large Professor was the one who went on, but his own stuff wasn't as strong. There was bits
No.
that were good. Don't get me right. I mean, wrong.
Yeah.
There was, you know, like an EP he did where it was he'd sampled June, which was really good. Like the soundtrack and the bass line off that. Mad Scientist. What an amazing EP that was. And there was a few other things that he did. You know that I mean, I've collected all of his stuff, but I think this just. I found an interview where they were talking and they were saying like people would stop us in the street and say, "Man, that shit you were doing like just changed my life." You know, like it's just like like amazing, like really, like I'm almost lost for words because it's the most perfect album. You know, if I had
It's sort of like it's laid back hip hop, isn't it? But it's still got that hard edge though.
Yeah, it's got the tough beats, but it's got the soul samples. You know, like when he's scratching the is it in looking at the front door when it goes boo 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 chicka boo boom boom.
Yeah.
I always thought that was just part of the record that they'd already sampled. It wasn't. The layers in this is just really incredible. When you dig into things and try to recreate them, you find out a lot more about them, and you're like, wow, how they've got that in tune and how to cut that up. And you know,
I mean, I first heard them on. It was on UMTV Raps and watch Roger do his thing.
That's
and it's
that.
Yeah. Dun, 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 dun. Then you get the the scratch. That's great. That was it for me. I was like, what's this?
Yeah.
And also, I think they might have been down a little bit with Gangstar.
Yeah.
Because Guru's in that video as well. So.
Well, there were label mates, weren't there, as well?
Yeah.
At one point. Yeah. Just I mean, there's so many good tracks on here that like Live at the Barbecue, sampling Bob James, like incredible. He got so much soul. He don't need no music, like the scratching and that, you know, and the lyrics is the rapping's like they're almost spitting. Do you know what I mean? It's so good.
I suppose that's what I mean about like, how come they just didn't seem to,
Yeah, follow
click,
it up.
you know, yeah. I
Yeah,
suppose at the time though, when you think about it, when did that come out? 91 or something?
91. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think maybe you know, they put their hand in a career full of records and found all the right elements. You know what I mean? I think they got maybe he's lucky. Obviously, there's a lot of skill as well.
Yeah.
The way that they put stuff together was very clever. But I think like it just fell into place. You know, it was like one of those magical moments.
I'm just wondering who else was bringing records out at that time. What their competition was. So maybe it's why the song I can't think of the top of my head. But
well, that's the other thing. What a lot of people don't remember and don't realize that when this came out in 91, it could have sat on the shelf for like 6 months at least until they prepared it. It could have taken them 4 years to make this.
Yeah.
So that's what people forget.
Yeah.
You know, when it dropped, it's very different. I mean, when I make music, it takes me a year to make at least, maybe even 2 years. I'll make an album, and then it doesn't come out for another 6 months. So you've got that huge delay, you know. So that was probably made in 88, 89.
Well, you've got big bands out as well at the time.
Yeah.
You've got NWA for a start. You've got Public Enemy. There's two of the biggest hip hop bands.
Yeah.
It's hard competition. Plus, Main Source, not really controversial. You know, they're not. If you get what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Or political rap. You know, like not saying like political that's going to be out there like Public Enemy were or controversial as an NWA. Yeah.
It's a bit like Common, isn't it? You know, it's like you sit on that side where you go, I want to talk about love and girlfriends and relationships, like YZ and people like that. And that's what these did, you know. Front Door was a love song, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if I have to pick a single, that's what you're going to ask me, right?
Yeah, obviously.
Front Door is the one. It's the beat is so tough and the sample's so good, you know.
All right.
Dominoes. Who did Dominoes? Change makes me want to hustle. What's his name again? The Blue Note artist. That's what the sample's from.
Oh, right.
I just can't remember. Donald Byrd. That's what the sample.
Right.
And it's been sampled loads at the same time. I think they were the first people to do it. And then Tribe Called Quest sampled it, and somebody else. So it was like, yeah. But I always thought it was like a huge sample, but it was only a 4-bar rap. I mean, a 4-bar sample.
I think mine would be Live at the Barbecue because it's just a party starter, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's basically, you can drop that at any party, they'll just go wild, you know. Really good song, that.
Fair enough.
Plus, it's got Nas on.
Well, that's it as well,
Well, he's not that popular at the moment, is he?
Is he not?
No, his new album's getting slated. I haven't heard it yet, but it's getting slated.
Oh, dear me.
But everybody wants Illmatic, and it's not going to happen, so everyone just needs to chill out.
If you want Illmatic, just go and buy Droog's album.
Yeah. Your old Droog. Yeah.
All right, okay.
Where is it? Your Droog.
Yeah.
I've heard of him, but I haven't heard anything by him.
One sec, I'll just put my hand on it. It's just here. I'll move the stuff. There it is, this one.
That is a good memory, that, like, to know where your record like that is. In that pile of records, and you knew straight away where the record was. That's good, that, like.
Honestly, I'm forever, like, there's stuff all over the floor. I'm forever trying to put stuff away, especially doing the radio every week. It's a nightmare.
So what's that album called, by the way?
What is it called, actually? I think it's just Your Old Droog, like as in his name. That's it. Yeah, it's on Chopped Heron Records anyway.
Oh yeah, I've got a few of theirs.
And that's the newest one he's done. That's the newest one he's done. And I think he only made 30 copies of this on vinyl.
Okay.
So good luck finding that.
I'll check that out. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what's your next choice?
Next up is, I'm going to take it further back and go with this. Big Daddy Kane.
Woo! Okay.
Now, It was a close one, but I have to be honest. I listened to this album a lot, and I was living in Bedford at the time. I was listening to Capital Radio, and Westwood was on Capital then, and I used to have to put an aerial, a speaker wire on my aerial on my ghetto blaster, and the speaker wire was so long and throw it over the roof of the house to pick it up because I lived in a dip in Bedford, so I could just say get it, and I used to stay up till like 1 a.m, like tuning it in. And that's basically when I heard this, like, Long Live the Cane. It's so good. Like, Mr. C was the DJ, Marley Marl's producing it, and the first record I heard by him was Raw, which, as you know, it's just a masterpiece. It's just that sample, which is Hot Pants, Bobby Bird. The drum break is one of my favorite breaks of all time now. And Big Daddy Kane just annihilates it. He just rips the shit out of it. There's an extended version I've got. Actually, there's a Cool G Rap album that came out a few years ago, and it's got like loads of unreleased stuff on it. I'll show you actually. This one, Cool G Rap and Polo.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I've got that. Yeah.
Well, there's like 4 vinyls in here, so it's got loads of
unreleased on. Yeah.
Stuff. And there's a version with Raw with Big Daddy Kane and Cool G Rap, with loads of other verses you've never heard, as well as the original verses. So yeah, that's
on this. It's on this as well. Smoove.
Yeah.
That's like a cool chilling.
Best of.
Like best of, but I think it's a bootleg, but it's on there as well. That Cool G Rap one as well. Brilliant.
So yeah, that when I heard Raw, it was like life changing. And then I got the album from this is a double repress. I found the original one. Did I put it there? It's absolutely battered. From Andy's Records, because I used to go to Andy's Records in Bedford. At the time, I was 17.
Yeah.
And I think it must be, what year was this? 88. Maybe even earlier. Which is a lifetime.
Yeah, it's 88.
Yeah.
Definitely 88.
Set it straight, because that's what he says. 88, setting it straight.
Yeah. Setting it straight, yeah.
Yeah. So there's only one bad song on this album, like there is on a lot of Kane albums. He does that.
I was just going to say that.
He does that Mr. Smooth shit that's awful.
Yeah.
The Day You're Mine, it's awful. It's so bad. Let's not talk about that. But, you know, you've got like it Ain't No Half Stepping, you know, like what a tune, what a sample. I'll Take You There. Just Rhyming with the Biz, which has been cut up and sampled a million times by everybody. Mr. C's Master Plan, I love that. It's like an old school mega mix of like, you know, cut and paste. I love that. You know, a DJ used to always have his own little spot on the record, which
remember those days.
Long Live the Cane, you know, the Meters sample. Like, that's the first time I'd ever heard that sample. I didn't know it was the Meters. I never heard of the Meters. Like most like kids back then, you got into rap and then you were like, and then you hear the original, you go, oh my God, he's lifted the whole thing. And then the cherry on the cake was Set It Off. Like when I heard that, I was like, whoa, you know, like, you know, you said about fast rap earlier on, that's fast, you know what I mean? Obviously, he then topped that later with the second album, with Another Victory on, but it had the Wrath of Cain.
Yes.
The Wrath of Cain was you know, he set the tone there, didn't he, really, for fast rap?
My album, Cain album.
Yeah. So, but I had to go for this one because of Raw and because of Set It Off and because I listened to it so bloody much.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm picking these, is because it's the most listened to album, really.
That's fair enough. That's a good way of picking. I think
that's what we say, isn't it? If it hasn't got a skip in it, you love it.
Well, apart from that love tune, which I'll sit down and listen to it if I have to in a cafe.
I think for me with Kane, I love Kane. He's one of my favourite rappers, but like you've just said, for me, the only trouble I have is I've always had to make, like on my iPod, I have to make a sort of like a Kane playlist. I can't listen to Kane albums because I skip too many songs on. There's too many fillers on them, and it's just like, I've got about 4 or 5 of his albums or something, about 4 albums, I think. But there's too many that I skip.
That's the thing, though. Like, he was quite prolific, and it's just him rapping usually. So it's like, you know, to drop that many albums consecutively must be quite a lot of pressure to come up with the goods every time.
Yeah.
Saying that though, when you must have seen the footage of him when he goes to Russia and he's got on, like, because he comes straight off the plane, he's got no luggage, and he tears it up literally.
Yeah.
Because it's tune after tune after tune, as you say, like a playlist, just bang. KRS was the same actually. He played with us at the Black Forest, and it was mad. We had Stig on, we were playing, and there was loads of other great hip hop acts, right? It was the guest, the surprise guest was Mobb Deep, right? Get this, and then KRS-One was headlining, and KRS-One came on, did one verse, one chorus, and then into another song, and it was like, God, I forgot how many monster tunes he's made. But yeah, I didn't pick KRS-One just because I didn't listen to it as much. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, like I say, I love Kane, but his albums, there's a lot of skippable ones on there, a lot of fillers on there. But you're saying that you rap by yourself, but he was quite good when he rapped with Scoob and Scrap.
Scoob and Scrap, yeah.
There comes Kane, Scoob and Scrap.
Yeah.
Love that tune.
Hey, you're gonna make a deal.
So, did you pick your favorite song off there? Sorry, did I miss that?
Yeah, I mean, I would, if I had to pick a favorite song, I would say Raw, because of the drum break and because of how simple it is, and set it off right behind it, but like Raw at the top.
Only one. Don't stop being.
Exactly.
Nice.
I think they're on the same 12 anyway, aren't they? Or I might be mistaken. Yeah.
No.
One's on.
Well,
not
when I bought the imports, they weren't.
No.
Oh, maybe it's not.
They probably were on the version. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Nice
All
one.
right.
Now we're going to go around about the same time, actually. I was still living in Bedford at this point, and I was just moving back, actually. And I got this. Now, this was a hard one because I loved their first album, but I played this album more, so that's why I've gone for this. Eric B. and Rakim.
Woo!
Follow the Leader. Now, as I said, the first album I paid in full. Do you know what I mean? I know You Got Soul, like two absolute bangers, but those remixes were actually slightly polished and better than the album versions. I love what Cold Cut did to Paid in Full. Influenced me massively. And also Double Trouble did the remix for the I Know You Got Soul and sliced all the extra bits in. So moving on from that album, obviously, I've picked this one. Now, it's just really because Follow the Leader is just, it's amazing where he takes you, like with his rap, Follow the Stars. He goes out past the balls are clear, he takes you into space and you look back and there's only one R and it's about to get more complex from one rhyme to the next. It's just like, he's an amazing MC. I've always said, for me, he's the best MC that's ever lived. His tone, his delivery, and he used to play sax. Apparently, I don't know how well he played it, but I think that reflects on the way that he raps. But yeah, and tracks like Put Your Hands Together, like great. The beats, the energy, like amazing. Lyrics of Fury, like just madness, like pure madness.
That's me favorite hip hop song. It's
great,
excellent.
Yeah, it's so good. Microphone Fiend, the beat on that, man, it's massive.
Yes.
No Competition, like that backward thing. The competition is none. All this like weird space noisy sort of like amazing, and that's why I liked Follow the Leaders. There's like that Nautilus in the background. That's got this like weird.
How much input did Eric have into like producing it and stuff? Because that's might always be me. Because everyone always goes on about Rakim, but the music was,
I think they were 50-50. Actually, I do believe Rakim said he did the scratches on Follow the Leader. So there you go. But
Rakim
I think
did the scratches.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think they fell out over who was writing credit and what. And like I've seen 1,000 interviews, and you never really get to the bottom of it. It's always a bit vague, you kind of probably not allowed to talk about it. But if they reformed, it just wouldn't be the same anyway.
No, it wouldn't be,
because the stuff changed so quick. Later on when they did, which was probably the best track that Rakim ever did, is Don't Sweat the Technique, which came after.
Okay.
You know, like the beats in that and the sax and the Blue Note sample, you know, like, and he's Don't Sweat the Technique. The whole attitude of it is very like gangster-esque, you know, like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm the best, bang. And it was a dance track, you know what I mean? You'd hear it in the nightclubs and just flip your lid, you know?
Yeah.
It was amazing. So yeah, that's why I've gone for that. But also a very iconic sleeve as well.
I'm
Like,
just gonna say
Yeah.
it's the sleeve, innit? You know?
yeah.
I mean, look at it. Look at the Dapper Dans.
Well, yeah, I know. Well, the photography, he was a very, very famous photographer who photographed all of the rap stars back in the day.
Yeah.
I can't remember the guy's name now, but
Glenn A. Friedman.
yes.
Yeah, I've got his book. It's really good.
Yeah. So, but get this, right? From the record store in Bedford, they had this as a gold, massive record display.
Right.
Huge. It was about 6 foot, and it was gold, like literally cardboard gold, really reflective. And it said, like, I think it said Eric B. and Rakim, follow the leader, and it was all like this. And I asked them for it, and they says, "Oh, when we finish with the display, you can have it." And I got it, and I had it, right? And it was up on my wall for years, obviously in my bachelor pad. And then eventually, when I moved out, I was like, I don't need that now, and I really regret getting rid of it.
Oh no!
Yeah, and you would love it. Honestly, it's right up your street. Like, basically, I've looked the internet, and there's just nothing, no word of it. Like, just, you know, when they used to make those special things, like for record shops, you know.
Yeah.
I've got a Public Enemy Nation of Millions one.
That's exactly what I'm talking about.
I'll tell you where I think I got it from. Solid Sounds at the Metro Centre.
Aye.
I think I got it from there.
Aye. So if I had to pick a single off that, it has to be Follow the Leader. It's just an amazing piece. And yeah, that's it. There's not really much to say about that album.
Well, like you say, for me, what strikes me is, like you say, is we've talked about this before, but like, you know, at one time it was like you had to make an effort to be a hip hop fan or a music fan in general back in the day. You know what I mean? There was no internet, there was no MP3s. You had to go and source out your music. You know what I mean? And a lot of the time I was buying stuff blind. I hadn't heard it. You know, I'd walk into a record shop and Bill, I used to go into Volume, and Bill would say, "I know you like this, Fred. You listen to this," and all of that. You know, and I'm like, "Right, okay, I'll buy it."
Recommendations, yeah.
He'd play a little snippet of it. His boss would give him a dirty look. Yeah. A lot of people in there were like punks and Harrys in there.
Yeah.
He'd get the record, then I'd jump on the bus home and then just go and play it in my bedroom, and try and like just soak it all in. But like, reading the sleeves, where was it recorded? Who was the engineer? All of that.
Well, I've just remembered. I heard Eric B. and Rakim's Paid in Full, and I went out and I bought the 12, and I was like gobsmacked at the wait a minute, you better talk to my mother. All the little bits like that, you know. And that's so good. So I knew this was coming out because I used to buy Record Mirror. Remember the magazine?
Yeah.
And I saw the adverts for Public Enemy, you know, Takes a Nation of Millions, Hold Us Back, and I didn't really know anything about that. So I was looking for it, and when it dropped, I went and I bought it. And I remember when I got the Public Enemy album home, I put it on, that siren, London, England, and it was just like, what is this?
Yeah.
So that nearly made my top 5, but I had to make rooms for this, so I didn't put that in. But this Eric B. and Rakim one was another one that I waited ages for it to come out.
Yeah.
And I remember standing outside the record shop waiting for it to open, so I'd go in and get it on that morning. And I was over the moon like when I got home with it. Yeah.
I remember going to London and like people was talking about, like, you know, I'm gonna get interviewed after this actually about my top 5. But one of the things that I always find interesting is like that kind of like, you know, it was the first I used to be into like sort of like punk and sort of like new wave type of music and reggae. And reggae was like the rebellious stuff, and they were talking about stuff like, you know, that affected black people. But then when Public Enemy and them come out and they started talking about Malcolm X and stuff, I was like, well, there's a book over there on my dad's shelf. You know, my brother and my sister had read it, and my dad and that, and you know, there was all these books there, and it's like the first, you know, hip hop got me to start reading, and I was interested in stuff like, you know, looking at the record cover, which is the reason why I'm saying it, is like on the back of Rakim with the number 7 in the star. What's all that about? What does that mean? What does that symbolism mean, and all of that, and trying to find out. Like you say, there's no internet. You have to really ask people, and I was asking people and somebody like, oh, they're Muslims, man, Muslims. The only Muslims I know are like me Bangladeshi and their Pakistani friends. What kind of cracks that? And then, oh, it's a different kind of Muslim, and it's this and it's that, and it's just, it blew me mind. you know, learning about all of that as well, like 5% and Malcolm X and Temples, all of that type of stuff. It took us somewhere else. You know what I mean? With the music as well. You know.
I remember playing X-Clan on the radio because I loved his voice. And some guy rang in and said, "Why are you playing X-Clan? You're not black." And I was like really shocked that this guy was saying that. I was like, wow. Like that, you know, like that color has got in the way of the music. You know what I mean? It was really, really odd for me.
Yeah.
But listen to X-Clan now, I can kind of see what he means because it's very, very strong what he's on about.
Oh,
you know?
yeah.
Messing about there. But
No,
I just love the music in his voice, you know.
Yeah.
Like, voodoo, running from your magic. You know?
Absolutely love it. But then, you know, I don't know if you've heard, but they've been embroidered in sort of like being accused of sexual assault and stuff recently as well. Yeah.
Wow.
It just makes you want to cry. Just nearly everybody that we've sort of like loved over the years, they're all getting accused of, you know.
Like burn your disco records kind of thing.
Yeah. It's just crazy. Wow. Yeah.
In your Jim will fix it badge.
So we're at that point. It's your last and final pick, and would you say this is your top of your 5?
No, it's definitely not. I mean, I had to choose between 2, and the one I was gonna pick was this because it's an unbelievable album, The Brand Nubian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You know.
But you can't pick that one to put it down.
No, I'm not. We won't even talk about that. I've decided. Oh, and it was a toss between this because it was their first one. Tribe Called Quest's first album.
Okay.
But I went for this because I got signed at the time. I got a record deal, so I went for this.
Ooh, yes.
And it is an amazing album. And I saw them live do this tour as well in Newcastle. I'm sure you were there. And it really is an amazing album. I mean, Ron Carter's playing bass all over it as well. Well, a lot of people don't realise, even though they name check him. Bugging Out, Excursions, Jazz. We've got the Jazz Scenario, you know, like Scenario. And then you've got, you know, Check the Rhyme, like one of the greatest rap records ever made. The sonics of it as well, like, you know, I watched an interview and they were talking about how they like really, really worked on how to get this like to sound shit hot.
Yeah.
Q-Tip himself, you know, pushing the boundaries, going. I think they were just changing the studio and they were buying a new desk to try and get this sound right. Yeah. Amazing.
I don't know if it was the same interview that you watched that I watched, but what they said they were doing was it was just when people were changing from like I think it was this one where they wanted to have the music where you could play it in your or people were playing it in their Jeeps or something and they wanted to make sure that you could play every single bit of it. I think it was something along those lines. I found it fascinating how they actually really thought about making sure that people didn't miss any of their music because of the speakers and stuff, so they were testing it out.
Well, it was an interesting thing because hip hop came from the streets, as we all know, but it's like, and it was very DIY and it was rough and ready, especially in the UK.
Yeah.
There wasn't very much UK rap that stands sort of the test of time as production goes, you know. It took the UK quite a while to get onto that, actually. That's its charm, don't get me wrong, you know what I mean? That's what it's supposed to be, rough and ready. But, you know, there was a point where rap records from America started getting produced really well, you know what I mean? Yeah. And obviously, like, Dr. Dre had a lot to do with that, and you know, like that sort of sound, that East Coast. But like Marley Marl was on that years before by putting the 808s underneath the beats and stuff and getting it. 45 King, he did a lot of that in the early days as well. So yeah, there's a lot to be said for that sort of how it suddenly started getting produced, you know.
Definitely. Were you going to say something, Riddler?
No, I'm just Johnny said the scenario.
Oh, there it is. There it is.
There it is.
I've got the original 7 of that. Yeah.
Yes, this is a reissue, definitely.
Yeah. So I actually got a record deal. Went down to sign it, and it was a bit of a letdown, to be honest. We got signed, went out for a meal, which was a sandwich in a shop. That was it. It was like, oh wow, is this it? And our manager at the time says, "Oh, we'll go record shopping if you want." So I was all right. So went into a record shop, and he said, "Just pick a load of records. And I was like, what? Is he going to pay for these? So I went and I picked like this. And this was one of them because I knew this was coming out that week and I saw it on the shelf and I was like, oh my God, it's the Tribe Called Quest new album. And I went to the counter and there was a pile of stuff, like some really good records I had. Actually, one of them was... one of them was this, which also blew my mind at the time. Organized Confusion.
Oh yeah.
That's an incredible album. Basically, one song on there that like really, really blew my mind was
Smoove.
Open Your Eyes.
Smoove. You're not cheating, are you?
No, I'm not cheating.
Behave. That's your first warning.
No. Fred.
Go back to
Fred,
this.
I did say to him that he could have 2 honourable mentions.
Well, you shouldn't have, should you?
Aye.
Well, you know.
That was my honourable mention. So,
Well, can I just say he's had about 6 honourable mentions so far that I've written down. I'm not counting. No, I'm not counting.
And then in the end, he bought me all these records. So that was the
Right.
one thing I came away from. This is actually a repress because me original's that battered. But this again is on double vinyl. So
Right.
nice and loud. Yeah. It's really,
I've got to say again, it's one of those for me, like I got into them later on. I was never really a Native Tongues fan.
Yeah.
And I think part of the reason for that was that the first Native Tongues type record that I got was De La Soul.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the first album.
Too many skits. Yeah.
Too many skits on it was the first thing. I was like,
Just too quiet.
Just play the bloody music. And it was really, quiet. I used to have to turn my stereo right over. Like, what's the matter here? And then you could hear the needle making a noise because you had to turn it up so much. And I never understood. So that's a common thing, is it? That was so quiet.
And well, that was the quietest hip hop album ever made, I do believe.
Right.
Tried to squeeze too much in on one side. It should have been a double album. I mean, I've actually got a repress of that again. And it sounds really good. But yeah. And Native Tongues, as you say, it was like De La Soul, Jungle Brothers. Their first 2 albums were amazing. But I was into that sound. I loved that Q-Tip.
Right.
I didn't really like Money Love though. Like I couldn't get away with that.
Right.
Yeah, that was my like that jazz, like sort of. Speaking of jazz, that had to make an appearance. That album is amazing. It is amazing.
One of these are coming on again. These two.
It's too quiet. It's too quiet to mention. It's just too quiet to mention.
I'm gonna get a red card and start showing red cards here, like.
Oh, no, that's it.
And Smoove, of course. With that LP, that's obviously led to you doing this little
exactly.
gem.
I didn't set that up on purpose. I knew you were going to do that.
No, I'll bring it out for you.
So
yeah,
that was going to be my question. So what exactly is that Michael's showing?
It's basically when I said I did the Main Source tribute earlier as a 7-inch on whack. I started making the Tribe Called Quest equivalent, like where it was like, oh, I know, I'll put some Tribe Called Quest bits in. Then I went, oh, hang on a minute, they've made 5 albums or 6 albums or something, and I was like, oh, how am I going to get all this into a 7-inch? So it took me a year. I nearly lost my mind, and I gave up a few times. And then I played it to a friend actually about 6 months ago, well, probably longer. And he said, you need to finish that. That's amazing. And I was like, oh, yeah, I will. And then I listened to it, like I hadn't listened to it for ages. And I went back and listened and I went, wow, that's really good. I need to finish this. So I did. And I'm really glad I did because it sold out twice already, like as soon as it came out. So
it's sold out twice, so you can't get it now, can you not?
No, I mean, I've got a couple of copies.
for your new best pal and that.
Exactly, I'll sort you out. I'll sort you out, yeah.
Nice one. So can you get, the other one that you were talking about as well, the Main Source one, can you get that?
Where is that?
You can get it digital, Fred, but it's really hard to get on single.
You don't get your 50s and live in a digital world, okay? It was long enough for us to get Spotify, never mind anything else, CDs and vinyl is all I deal with in the odd cassette.
See, he's away to that wall again. You know exactly where it is.
No, I don't this time.
Oh, no! We know which one it is. We know it's.
Anyway, I must have sold out. Yeah. So that one, yeah, that one sold out as well.
Will there be any repressings, you think?
Oh, I keep getting asked, but like being a vinyl junkie myself, I know what it's like to want a record. So it's quite nice to leave people hanging on.
Oh, it's like that, is it? It's like that.
No, I should really. I should.
I think you can get them on Discogs, but you're gonna
pay the
quite
price.
a bit.
Yeah.
I'm too tight for all that lot, man.
No, exactly.
So, what's your favourite song off that album then?
Like I said, it's got to be Check the Rhyme.
Check the Rhyme.
It's so good. It really is. It's what's her name? Minnie Riperton, isn't it?
Yeah.
Just held that vocal held. It's so good, the loop. And the fact that they haven't really, it's got the average white band as the brass section, which is really clever, the way that comes in and out for the chorus. And the fact they just use a rim shot, like it's so simple, like there's very little beat in it,
Yeah.
And that bass, that's it. Bum, 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 bum.
Okay.
Brilliant.
Nice one. Well, we're coming to the end now. Thanks very much for coming on, gracing us with your presence. It's been really, really interesting and really educational for me because a lot of stuff you're talking about there. Because I'm not a producer, I'm just a music fan. That's all I am. I'll play the odd record, within the Vinyl Vandals. Riddler's a DJ. I will play a record just because I like playing records and I like making the crowd move. It tickles us, but I can't scratch, I can't mix, can't do any of those things. You know what I mean? It's not my thing. But I do love my music. So listening to you talking about music in that way, and I come from a musical family, by the way. I've got a lot of family that are into music and stuff, So I'm always fascinated when I hear people talking about music and when they layer in beats and how this happens when you're talking about snares and all of that, 808s and all of that. I sit there open mouth and listen because I find it really interesting, but I actually don't really know what you're talking about, if that makes sense at the same time.
Well, to be honest, I wish I could wake up one day and not know about the layers because I wanna have that naivety, like just hear the piece as it should be, like one piece, Right. I kind of miss that, I'm too when I hear something, I spoil it because I like strip it all back and over-analyze every little bit.
I can understand that.
Yeah. Like I recognize snare drums, like when I hear a snare drum and I go, that snare, I know what that's off. And people just look, what is wrong with you? It's not the same kick from the same kit,
So, a couple of things just before we go. How can people get a hold of your music? If you want to just tell us that first.
The Smoove and Turrell stuff is on our website, smooveandturrell.com. Yeah. And there's a lot of stuff on Bandcamp, which is Smoove and Turrell. It's on the Jalapeno label, so you'll find it if you rummage around through there. There's a lot of vinyl that we've done over the years. Okay. And as you said, Discogs and things like that. I did an album full of remixes on Jalapeno called Recorded Delivery.
Okay. What kind of remixes? Is that hip hop? Is it soul? What is it?
It's a bit of everything, actually. Let me just grab one. I'll show you that. This is basically the most recent thing I've done. Nice sleeve as well.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
This is all over the place. This is all my remix work, basically. It's a double vinyl. It's got people like Chrome. You know Chrome?
Yeah.
A remix called Dopamine Hit. That's really nice. We've got, what's he called? My Diggy. He's on here as well.
My Diggy. I've got.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but it's a mixture. You've got like soul singers like the Third Degree doing their version of Mercy. You've got the Allergies, Run It Back with Andy Cooper. You've got like Aldo Vanucci, Renegades of Jazz with Aspect.
Right.
That's a great track. Bahama Soul Club, that's like Latin house. Is sort of like funk soul, there's electronica. It's a real mishmash of all the stuff, the different things that I do, and some Smoove and Turrell stuff on there as well. So yeah,
nice one.
Look at that. If you want to start somewhere, that's a good start.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely start there. So, for somebody like me, where can I connect with you? Are you on Facebook?
Yeah, find me. The artist page is Smoove on Facebook, and Smoove and Turrell page as well.
Okay. Instagram?
Smoove UK.
Okay. And Twitter?
and I think that's the same, Smoove UK. Or
Okay.
maybe Stephen Move. I don't know.
Well, I'll have a room and from then I'll be adding you. So if anybody out there wants to add you as well, that's definitely it. I think, you know, especially without, I know that you're from the Northeast and you've done all of this stuff that we didn't know about. We need to shout about it. So, you know, thanks very much for opening up the studio to win and obviously let me know about what goes on inside your head and what makes you tick with your music and your hip hop, which has been great. Would you come back on in the future and do a UK one?
Of course, yeah. I've got loads of stuff to talk about there. You know.
Spot on.
What we're planning to do in the future is do a UK album one, yeah, which we're doing with some people at the moment, and then also a UK and a USA 12-inch, which is going to be harder again.
Yeah.
Break it down just to the actual 12 inches, you know, or 7 inches. So we'll definitely be coming back for that again.
You should do an Australian hip hop as well.
I haven't a clue about any. I think I've heard one Australian hip hop in all this time, so that'll not last very long. Unless we get Pete Andre on the
Funnily enough, that's called Blades of Hades.
Yeah.
Australian.
So just going to bring it to an ending. So if you just want to, if you any last words from you.
I've really enjoyed it. Thanks very much. It's been nice going down memory lane. Not that I ever left that lane, like I'm still there. One foot in the past, you know, like completely.
Thank you.
One last question, Smoove. Obviously, with the lockdown and you being a live band, live artist, you haven't played for a few months now. But you're back out playing. Where are you on next?
Depends when this goes out. We've got on Sunday we're playing live at the Mill House. A lot of the stuff's local at the minute, and we've got the Unity Festival with Craig Charles on the 9th of October, I think it is. We're playing that socially distanced festival thing. So
that's the little boxing rings.
Yeah, with the lamb, like the sheep's pen, they call it.
Yes, aye.
The Mill House, is that the Mill House in Gateshead here?
Yeah. We're playing there on Sunday.
Oh, okay. Do you have to book for that?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's 4:00 in the afternoon, so it's not a late one.
Okay, nice one.
And it's outdoors, so it's like socially distanced.
Nice
all
one.
that.
Okay.
But all our I would say all the dates are up there, but they're not because I'm having to just go with it each week as they go. I've got a lot of dates in. We've lost 82 shows this year.
Wow.
So we've got a lot more in, but it's just whether they're going to happen. I mean, we keep getting gigs just pulled from underneath us, like literally a few hours before we go to do it. It's crazy. So
the last gig we went to was at Xerox, and we're seeing DJ Smoove.
Yeah, because the next day the whole world shut down the next day. Yeah.
Red Lad, do you want to say bye? Last words before you go?
Yeah. Thanks, Smoove. Excellent choices. Tune in. Vinyl Vandals, Try Radio, Monday night, 8 p.m. Nice one.
Just to say goodbye to everybody, and just to say if you think you would like to come on and share your top 5 with us, either UK albums or USA albums, hip hop of course, just give us a shout. You know how to catch us: YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. Tap us on the shoulder if you see us in Sainsbury's, wherever it is. Just give us a shout. Okay. Thanks for joining in. Speak to you all soon. Take care, and remember, talk to each other. Mental health can be beaten if we talk to each other and help each other. We can sort of I'm not saying it's going to go away, but don't leave people in isolation. Play your music and talk to each other. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah.
See you later.